Today we have such a cool topic, you guys. We're talking about ChatGPT, otherwise known as language models, learning language models in this day and age that are accelerating our productivity and depth of what we can share because it's an extension of our own selves. And that's what we're talking about today is how to use generative AI, whether it's ChatGPT or the Google version of Bard. Most of us have been familiar with ChatGPT, which is OpenAI's proprietary language learning model. But I want to share today why this is so helpful as women leaders, because there's a lot we can glean and learn no matter what your role is, where you are at work, and how to do this. So let's dive in. First, I want to share a little bit about my examples and how I've been using ChatGPT as a woman leader myself. And I'm just going to give a shout out to Sage Levine, who is one of my mentors, founder and CEO of Women Rocking Business. She's done a podcast on this about how to really use ChatGPT for marketing avatars. And that got me thinking, well, how else could I use ChatGPT as executive coach and a leader myself? And then also, how can my clients use ChatGPT? And there's been some terrific examples, and I'm going to share with you today on how that works. First off, if you aren't using ChatGPT at all, or you're not really clear on really what that is, then I would encourage you to check it out, because we can all use this, I think, in some way, at least minimum wise, for brainstorming, no matter what your industry is or your business, and whether you're in or out of marketing or anything. It could be biotech, it could be physical therapy. I mean, it could be anything, it could be motherhood. So first to know is, I think it's a great example of brainstorming, typing in your conversations. So let's say you've got a difficult coworker or someone on your team. You can literally go into ChatGPT and give ChatGPT/Bard/ that's the Google AI version again, what the situation is. I think personally, ChatGPT is a little farther ahead just based on what my results are. So we've all been familiar. You do need to create a login. It's totally free to use in this version, multiple languages, things like that. But first thing to do is go in and tell ChatGPT who you're working with. It might be your industry, it might be your avatar. But in this case, in our example, we're talking about a conflict or something with a colleague that might be a difficult conversation. Let's just leave it at that. And so you say to ChatGPT, and you say, I work in X industry, and I'm noticing I am having challenging conversations about X. So then you give this information so that ChatGPT has some context to what you have. And then you could say, here's what happened. And you can type in high level what happened. So I had a presentation and I got feedback that this wasn't possible by a deadline. I'm making this up, right? ChatGPT, what do you advise to share with this colleague? And ChatGPT can respond in multiple milliseconds, literally, of what to say. That's one example. And I would encourage you to explore this, because I think we do great as individuals who come up with our own solutions. But literally, here's the thing, right? As executive leaders, as women in business, I think we really are, we thrive on collaboration. That's one of our strengths as women. And I think it's something that this helps to aid in collaboration with, in this case, ChatGPT. But I think it's getting multiple perspectives. You could even go another step further and say, thanks, ChatGPT, what else would you recommend? Or do you have a different thought around what I could talk about? That's what I've done a few times in different examples. And it says, sure, let's do this. And then it gives me something else back. I want to share an example I know about as well through one of my clients who was having a question around how to approach a challenging situation where someone in a product team wasn't necessarily talking to the engineering team, and there was multiple versions of what was needed. So she literally asked ChatGPT, here's the scenario, what do you recommend next steps as? And ChatGPT came back with 3 or 4 different things that she could do differently. So it was very thorough, very helpful, and really blew both our minds actually when I got a chance to check it out, because I didn't realize how much depth there could be within a personalized situation that you're looking to get support on. And this brought me to my next question, which was, wow, that's pretty awesome. And love that that's so available and free for all of us. So now as a coach, like, should I be worried? Should I be concerned that all my coaching clients are just going to run to ChatGPT and not want to be coached? So then I asked ChatGPT that question and I said, hey, that's great. Will you think ChatGPT will replace coaching, you think? And what I really liked about this answer, which I totally agree with, is I think there's so much ChatGPT can help with, especially on the spot brainstorming, quick one-liner results. It can even help with like relationship dating tips, things like that. I mean, it just goes everywhere. And what it did say, which I super agree with, is that while all that's great, nothing can replace a one-on-one connection. And I think that's the overarching theme across AI as we consider where this is going and how this is developing in our world. And I can't wait to fast forward. I'm going to be at a conference at the end of October 2023 around Wisdom AI, which is really bringing the minds of consciousness with artificial intelligence. And I just can't wait to get into that and see where that goes. And I'm sure I'll have a second part 2 to this conversation. So consider this kind of that entry level version of some thoughts that you could have. And to reiterate this coaching side, one-on-one coaching is great for here and now, personalized, customized results that I think can help you develop as a leader, where you're stretching into awareness that doesn't exist yet for you. Meaning, how do you feel? Like, what are the questions that are getting underneath some of your unconscious patterns or even belief systems and things like that? I think those things always will be helpful as a coach and more and deeper understood, along with the complement of having that ChatGPT device of arsenal of things like different tactics to take in a conversation or things like that. Hoping this is helpful. What have you thought of so far? How could you use this no matter what you are doing? Maybe you've got performance reviews. Maybe you're either in a performance review or you're giving it. I think ChatGPT can be really helpful to strategize on delivery. What could you say? I want to come across knowing this is what I want to convey to this person. What would you advise ChatGPT? So we are getting a broad swath of all kinds of ideas here, but I'm curious, what are you thinking about? And are you using ChatGPT right now in your business, in your leadership, in your professional or personal life? And I think there's been a slower adoption rate for this, I think, for women. That's my hunch, just because in general, maybe we're not thinking to ask a computer something right away so we get answers. But trust me on this one, it's worth trying, and bring to it your biggest dilemma, something that's been maybe on your mind that is specific, that might be able to be some extra brainstorming topics that you can have. I want to talk about one other example. I mentioned Sage Levine and marketing avatar. So if you're in the field of marketing, I do want to recommend this because I think it's great. And I kind of, citing you, Sage, and I'm also doing this because I've done it myself and I've also helped clients do this. But you can type into ChatGPT, hi, like my title is ... fill in the blank. Who I serve is this avatar, and you type it in, right? So that could be, my avatar is professional men 35 to 46 who are consumers in $100,000 income or above, who buy pretzels. I don't know, whatever that is. Probably not pretzels, but that could be retail consumer goods research. It just depends on what your business is and what you do. Maybe you're selling business to business platforms for coming up with event planning. I don't know, just totally making these things up. So get out there, start using language learning models. If you use any of this lingo, you consider yourself savvy now because you've got a little bit of leg up here, and it's only going to become more prevalent. And I know there's all other things that are on people's minds, like, well, homework, like if my child is using this ChatGPT and our school is concerned that there is lots of copyright and copying period around what ChatGPT offers. And so I just want to offer out there, we can't solve everything at one time, but the more you use it, the more familiar you'll be with it and what it can provide, and be specific with what you would want to get out of it. And I think it can really, really serve you for whatever you're putting together. Speaking of writing, so if you're actually writing posts, maybe they're blog posts for your business, your team, maybe it's an email, you could use it as well. And I also think we're figuring out as a culture right now how to cite and use ChatGPT. I've heard different things where you might say this was 100% reference from ChatGPT, like that could be the citing. It could be like this was generated through brainstorming with ChatGPT and written by me, or it could be a blend, which might be I've taken excerpts written by ChatGPT along with what I've written and combined it into what this article is. And the reason I'm sharing that is because we're figuring this out. We're figuring this out as a culture. And do it, and you could try this yourself, right? Maybe you've got a holiday card update for your family. Like this is a great one, I think. Put in there, I want to write a holiday card update for 2023. And I want to talk about our new dog, the vacation to Paris, and what I'm currently focused on with family plans. And then ChatGPT would return and spit out probably something pretty general for that. But you could say, that's great. Could you add in our dog, Sheltie, named Karen? These are funny examples I'm pulling out. And actually, include some more greetings for the new year and well wishes. So you're just refining it. And then you can say, that's great. Could you take 100 words out? And you could just make it more condensed. Play with it. This is the idea with technology, is getting comfortable with it means we are experimenting and playing with it. But I am a big fan of experimenting, but also citing that. So sharing how you've used it and helping other people learn too right now in this exploratory phase. We've heard a lot that ChatGPT will be exponentially faster, we'll know more. And I totally agree with that. So the more you can do now, I think you'll be benefiting yourself to do something different. I'll share one more example of my own world here with ChatGPT, and maybe you can get the idea. The thing is, maybe you hear some of these ideas and then you decide, oh, I want to try that with, let me give this my own example. And literally, if you just Google ChatGPT, it'll come up, and then you create your login and try this. And you can also try this in Google. So Google search in the very big top, you'll see the beta of that's what BART is, I believe. And then you can type in your stuff and play around and see what happens in both of those to see what responses are. So what I did, and this was more of an example, this is just more of a example of what I did. I said, hey, ChatGPT, can we write a blog post about women leaders navigating challenges like stress? So I told ChatGPT, I literally said, I'm working with business leaders who are feeling stuck and in a need of a career pivot. I just said that. I'm sure there's more I could have said. And I said, do you understand what my marketing avatar is? And then ChatGPT responded and said, yes, I understand. And then said, these folks likely possess leadership skills and have already been successful. It was pretty spot on, actually. And then it says, they need solutions and services to overcome these challenges, navigate transitions. I said, great. Can you write me a blog post about how this avatar can help me, can help resolve their specific needs? And sure enough, it spits out of multiple, probably like 1,000-word essay. And I said, hey, this is great. Can you turn it into a podcast? Sure enough, it turned it into a podcast, including little brackets where the background music fades in and out. I thought that was hilarious. I have not used either one of these, but it just gave me food for thought that we can literally use this in so many different ways and be more productive as a result. I think the key is to cite it, to just be in integrity with where and how you've used it. And again, that might be conversational, that might be brainstorming, it might actually be integrated across with your edits, or it might just be fully ChatGPT. I think it just is whatever it is. And we can also now, I believe we are able to run spot checks and see what came from and not came from Spot GPT. Like that's something that they're doing now for plagiarism and figuring it out. And I think that's still pretty nascent steps. So do yourself a favor and just cite it, just say where and how it came about. And maybe I'll be using my own ChatGPT for an upcoming blog post or podcast. I've done neither, but it gave me some food for thought, and I got excited because, hey, why not? This has lots of opportunity and creative approaches, and maybe I use a part of it. Maybe I use a little bit of it. Maybe I just use the podcast part. I don't know. But what could you do as a leader? Maybe you jot down the areas of business that you're responsible for. Maybe it's a quarterly presentation or performance review, like kind of just listing all your responsibilities are. You could literally ask ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, here's what I am preparing for. And you could talk about whatever that might be. Maybe it's your client avatar, maybe it's your coworkers. Like I said, it's carte blanche, and you have a buffet of options that you could use it for. I hope that this has been helpful, because I do think as women, it can be a great strategic advantage to just be doing different things with ChatGPT now. So you're familiar with it. You have you can have conversations about it. You can walk the talk about how you've used it, and maybe it will serve you. It might help you in those conversations that are difficult. It might help you increase your emotional intelligence because you're able to understand how it can serve you, but maybe also how things may not work as well, like increasing empathy, which might be best with a human. I hope this has been helpful. I had a lot of fun researching ChatGPT and playing around with it. If you do, I want to hear about it too. Let me know what you've been using it for. How have you been finding it helpful? Maybe it's your dating life. Maybe where you're putting in, how do I respond to this text without feeling awkward? I think that's a big leadership move, right? You're just kind of gathering the horses for what potential responses can be and look like. All right. Well, let me know how it goes. I'm excited for you to give it a shot, and happy AI, Chat GPT, Bard GPT, Bard AI, and all of the above.